Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello! My name is Caroline and I make sewing tutorials and patterns to help you along your sewing journey. And I'm actually in the middle of another project right now, a bigger one with fancy fabric that I had never worked with before, and so many things were just going wrong with it. So I felt like I needed to take a small break from that one, and in the meantime I thought about making something that I am more used to. That's simple, but I know that once I'm finished it's gonna bring me a lot of joy and hopefully inspire me to go back to that one later. So what I have in mind for this is Audrey Hepburn, the 50s, something lovely and delicate and romantic. I am between making it a dress or a two-piece set, but I think I'm gonna go with the two-piece set so I can just wear it separately if I want. I recently got the fabric for this. I thought it was really pretty because I love polka dots. It's 100% cotton. So I am planning a tight bodice. So I am planning on a tight bodice with a slightly oval neckline that goes upwards a little bit, that reaches a little bit below my waistline. And I also want to make a half circle skirt. And I am thinking about adding a tie in the back and boning for the bodice, so it acts more like a corset and gives more support, but that's optional. You can just add a zipper, and the pattern for it is actually not difficult to make. I'm gonna show you in a bit, but I know some people are not interested in making the pattern themselves, so if you're interested in it, let me know and I can work on it to add it to my shop. But now let's go learn how to make the pattern. I'll start by tracing the basic bodice block to a sheet of paper. I have a full tutorial on how to make one using your own body measurements, and I promise you it's really not that difficult to make. After that, I'm lowering 3 fingers down the neckline and tracing a straight line to the side. And I'm also entering 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch at the shoulder dart and connecting it to the bust line. The darts will be eliminated when we cut the pattern. That's optional, but I'm also lowering 6 centimeters at the center and 3 at the sides and connecting it with a curve. Then I'm extending the center dart line 12 centimeters to complete the bottom part of the dart and connecting it to the waist. Now cut. For the back, I'll just place a pattern piece for the front on top of it and trace the bottom part. And I'm connecting the side to the center with a curve. Now I'm just going to cut the pattern pieces on a test fabric, and I am going to sew them right sides together so I can draw the neckline that I want. You don't really need to do this, you can just draw it directly on the paper, but I feel like this gives more precision and is easier for you to see, especially if you don't have a lot of experience with pattern making. I feel like putting it on and seeing if it fits will really help you test everything out. So I can see that it's a little bit loose here on the top, so I'm going to take that in on the pattern later. But now I'm gonna draw the neckline. So I drew it on, and I'll also make it a little bit lower here because I wanted to cover my belly button. But overall, I feel like the fit is good. I drew the neckline as an oval shape. I also entered 1 centimeter on each side, and I made it a little bit longer here. And for the center back, I made this line here around 3.5 centimeters because if I want to make it with the tie in the back, I can just fold this part and cut the pieces, and this part right here will be just my skin. You won't have the pattern, and then it will be crisscross. And for the skirt, you just have to divide your waist measurement by 3.14, and then you measure it all around from here to here, and you connect it with a curve. And I also made a waistband piece that's 3.5 centimeters wide plus the same allowance on the top and the bottom, and it's just the exact width of my waist. But I divided it in half and I added this to represent the fold because I'll be cutting this on fold. Now let's cut the pieces. Now I'm gonna transfer the pattern to the fabric. I don't have enough space here. And now all you have to do is just measure how long you want your skirt to be, and you measure it all around. I cut all the pattern pieces. For the bodice, I cut 2 of each for the lining and 2 of each for the outside layer. And I'm gonna try and finish the skirt first because since it's a circle skirt, it needs to hang for a while so it can deform. So I can only hem it after it spends a lot of time hanging. What I have to do to start is to sew both of the waistband pieces right sides together at the top, 1 centimeter away from the edge. After sewing the waistband, I put the seam allowance upwards and I stitched it to the part of the waistband that's going to be inside here. And I also finished the bottom with an overlocker, but you can use a zigzag stitch. Now take the skirt. I made a small cut here so I can know where exactly the middle of the skirt is. And I did the same thing to the waistband. And now we're going to pin the waistband to the skirt. As you can see, there's a little bit left here. That's kind of normal when you cut something on the bias because it's going to stretch a little. If you need to trim it, you can do that as long as it's straight across from the selvage. Don't cut on an angle, just keep the selvage straight and then you're not going to have trouble when you're attaching the zipper. And now we're going to stitch the waistband here on top. I also finished here the sides and now I just have to attach the zipper to the sides. Now I just have to fold the waistband on top of the zipper, sew it here on both sides. Now pin the waistband down. Make sure it's all straight. You can iron it if you prefer. And now to secure the waistband down, you just have to sew it right here. I like to stitch in the ditch, but if it's difficult for you, you can just stitch as close as possible to the edge. The skirt turned out so cute. I'm not going to show it yet because I feel like it's going to ruin the surprise, but I'm really satisfied with it. And now that the skirt is ready, I'm going to focus on the corset / top. I just have to sew all of the pieces together. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So I will sew the lining and the fashion fabric. And since it's already getting a bit dark, I think that's all I'm gonna have time to do today. But if anything, tomorrow morning, I'm gonna come back and finish everything. Now place them right sides together, match all of the seams, and also here at the top, 1 centimeter away from the edge. Since there are some curves here, I'm gonna make small little cuts. This step is optional, but I really like to do it. It's just stitching the seam allowance towards the lining. And now place them right sides together again. And also both of the sides, 1 centimeter away. I gave it a good press so everything would be crisp. And now I'm gonna create the casings for the boning. This is optional, you don't have to make it with boning, but I'm going to pin all of the seams to each other. And now I'm going to use the seam in the middle as a guide and sew 1 machine foot away from each side. And then I cut some boning. It's made out of plastic, came in a roll like this. And I cut it slightly shorter because I'm gonna have to finish the bottom and the needle cannot go through because it's gonna break. I'm just going to use a nail file to make it rounder. And now I'm just going to insert the boning. Okay, so it's day 2 and there's barely anything left for me to do. I only have to do the final touches. I left the skirt hanging overnight, so by this point it's probably already done deforming because it's been more than 24 hours. Now I have to trim the bottom to make sure everything stays on the same level, and that part is a little bit annoying to make, but I'm going to measure from top to bottom and mark it down, and then I'm gonna trim it. For the corset, I already put all of the bonings in it. I just have to finish the bottom that is left with the raw edge. So for that, I thought about finishing with bias tape. I picked up this strip of fabric that I cut on 45-degree angle. I'm going to fold it in the middle, iron it, and then I'm gonna pin it to the bottom edge of the corset, sew it in place, then trim the seam, fold it inside, and sew it on top. And it's gonna be completely finished. The only thing that I will have left for me to do is make the holes in the back of the corset so I can put this, but I'm gonna leave this to my dad. I'm gonna let him do that for me. I added boning right at the edge. Like I sewed a casing here, there's boning here. And I also added to the back seam when you sew the center back to the side back. And I'm going to make the holes in the middle of those two. So it's gonna be really sturdy, it's not gonna keep bending. And after I'm done with the final touches, I'm gonna try it on so I can show you guys.